Okay, if nobody has anything else, we do have a speaker with us today. She will be talking to us about marketing, something all of us know everything we need to know about. And she has some fresh new ideas, and I've been working with her a little bit. I'd like to work with her a little bit more. But she is extremely busy, and we're fortunate to have her here today. So, Morgan, why don't you come on up? I'll let you take it away.
All right, the floor is here. Hello. Hi. I know some of you personally. I worked with some of you personally. Bob brought me in years upon years ago before I had my own business, and I've worked with Sue now on a few occasions, and Sue has saved me and taught me a lot on the publishing end of things, and now getting to work with Carl on different projects. It's been amazing, but in the process of all that, as an artist, I've developed some things and gotten to work along really great people, finding out little tips and tricks that I wish I knew years upon years ago, and I'm going to share those with you. So, back in the day, I was an illustrator and artist. I'm still an illustrator and artist. Life has taken me different directions. In the course of marketing, one of those things we're going to talk about, like, this is the company that I work with now. As for marketing, brightly colored. When I'm on a job site, people know that I'm there. I'm there for handyman services. This is what we do. It's good marketing. Otherwise, our vans they don't have decals on them. So if I'm not wearing this shirt, it looks really creepy when an unmarked van just rolls up somewhere and I'm just at somebody's house. So really thankful for the shirt, but I'm getting her to get decals. It's great.
What's that? I can't read it. What's the shirt say?
This is AF Honest Home Services.
Oh,
so
you
they
guys
do.
just put in a new HVAC and heater for us.
Oh yes. So it was probably Zach that came out for that and Vlad for the electrical. But yes, this is my day job. This is why you guys don't see me very often. I might be working 17-hour days. So thankfully, Carl has caught me on a lot of things. So prior to that, I had a business, Mad Collab Studios, which was the 7,000 square foot art facility, which closed in September of last year, and so now working with this company. What I'm going to share with you is after Mad closed, one of the pitfalls that I learned through the business was that marketing was one area that we really didn't do well in. We didn't know enough at the time to really be able to propel forward. So back before I had the business, I was doing art events and creating ads for artists. And so we had the flour mill artists, and we would do 10 vendors at a time, 10 to 12, and I would create these ads for the artists. And the frustrating part of it is even creating these ads, which would take hours of time, every artist, getting the emails and the photos in and all of the documentation, artists would only share this one time. And so as a business owner, as somebody trying to market artists and trying to get information out there, it can be remarkably frustrating because as that side of the business, I don't have access to your personal friends, family, and fans. That is the biggest thing. That is something I can't do. And no marketer can do that for you. You have folks in your lives that have supported you for years, decades, that want to see you succeed. Me, on the back end of things, when I'm trying to promote something, someone would see something come across my page and it's like, oh, here's an artist, here's a painter, here's a potter, here's an author, here's this, but they don't know anything necessarily about that person as an individual. Like, for example, when I talk about Bob and his books, I'm like, all right, Marine veteran, he worked in the White House, he's got short stories, he's got romance, he's got westerns, what are you looking for? But you need to meet Bob personally, because when people can make that personal connection and feel like they're a part of that person's lives, they're more likely to support them. So you as authors are a little different than, say, an artist that, like, okay, here's a painting, and then they're focusing on that painting. Your books, your writing, your short stories is your artwork. So that in itself, that story needs to be told. And your story needs to be told. Because it's just words if they don't know the meaning behind it. So why you wrote the book, who you wrote the book for, what inspired those things to come about, because there's so many people that will read that beginning forward, they're like, oh, so-and-so dedicated this to their kids. Or I don't know if anybody's ever read, what was that one? Wait for it. That 50 Shades of Grey. I don't know if anybody read that. Did anybody read who she dedicated her books to? Her children. Oh, that's awkward. That's really awkward. Right. So when reading that, you have that like, whoa, I don't know. It's those moments. Yeah, that clarity. It's one thing like, oh, here's a delightful story of something by a lake that my children inspire this. I don't even know. 50 Shades of Grey, that is completely her own prerogative, but that's how she chose to market it, and she did it quite well. But as for artists and authors, so how many people here have their own website? Show of hands?
Sort of.
Yeah.
How many of those websites are search engine optimized? Okay.
No idea.
All right. So this is something that I learned personally from Tyler Hathaway of Patriots Marketing of America. And you can take down that name. Please contact Tyler. He's taught me so much. He came in, gave us kind of a rundown on the business. Here to tell you right now, Mad's website had no traffic until Tyler told us about search engine optimization. And so one of the things, like, it's great that you have a website. That is a killer start. But the problem is now when Google is looking over your website, they just see a white blank page. And he showed me this. I got to see what Google sees when they look at websites. So Google sees a bunch of white pages. And then when there's photos on that website, they look for the text on that photo. And that text on that photo, it might be saved like, I don't know, book cover 1. Or something along those lines. But that information right there is what Google is searching for to pull the keywords from. So when you are saving pictures for your website specifically, please save something that it might seem like the most run-on sentence that you can think of, but Spokane, author, selling, books. Like, when you put that in, that's what Google sees. Yes, it sees the text on your website, but it's really looking for those images because a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Same thing for Google. So when a site is not optimized, Google doesn't really see it. And as for websites in itself, the best way to describe how Google and these search engines look at websites and the viability of them, not only do they sponsor ads, and you'll always see that, like, you know, they've paid for that advertising spot and they've got those few areas up there. And don't believe them when they say that you can pay to be at the top of Google. Don't believe anybody. That is a scam. Don't do it. Don't trust it. But, so you've got these sponsored sites, and they're all the big sites. When Google is looking at your website, it looks at the viability of websites like giant root balls. So if there is an author that has 1 or 2 books on there, their website might be like, let's say 3 pages. It has like an about the author, maybe events, and here's a thing to sell their books. That's only a 3-page website versus something like, say, Displayed or something that has a lot of different, like Amazon. So when it has that many websites connected to it, Google automatically is attracted to that larger root ball, so to say, because it has more data to pull from. So it has more keywords that it can cross-reference when somebody's searching something. So it's really good that you have a website. It's absolutely stellar. But SEO optimization which can be done with your website design. If you have any questions, please feel free to get a hold of me and I can help you out. But when it comes to, say, like authors and things, having your information connected to the SAS website is monumentally helpful because there's more data for Google to pull off of. So being in these groups and having the proper advertising is monumentally helpful for the individual, because here to say, as an artist in 2024, even all these artists that are like tech savvy and on every social media account, you're not going to win when you've got all of these other things over here on these major websites. So it's going to be a constant battle. So the way that you combat that is brand recognizability, which some of you work under pen names, right? Some have previous books that were written, and it might be on Amazon, and Amazon's a great tool for that because it can connect people to your information and data. But when you were showing the flyers, for example, those flyers that you wrote up, have to give you props on one thing. Your yellow flyer, yellow is the fastest, the color that the human brain perceives the fastest, because per evolutionary, when we were looking for danger items, snakes and things, yellow was danger, yellow was caution. So that's why school buses are yellow, construction sites yellow, things like that. Yellow is the fastest perceived. So if you are doing any flyers that you want somebody to look at, absolutely print them on yellow paper. That is fantastic to catch human attention. You'll see with like even, pardon me, but the yellow in this book here, this book cover, this is going to grab human attention just looking over here. Just as I scan this, I'm like, oh, here we go. Right there. It's a beautiful cover, by the way. I don't know who did this, but it's gorgeous. But these little tips and tricks of like human psychology when it comes to like you recognizing or putting forward that public persona with your book cover. And I know as authors and artists in general, like not only you, like I'm not a people person. I will be the first person to admit it. I was an introvert with an event center, and I am very content working at the company with 7 people I know. As for authors and things, I know that when I would go to events, I was so stressed out. I didn't know how to talk to people. I don't know what to do when they come up to my table, how to initiate conversations. And when you're trying to initiate a conversation about like, hey, you should, check out this book that I wrote that has all of like my heart and soul and mind and everything. It's really, it's jarring because you're not trying to be like, hey, you should really read my book. And I've seen this at shows where I have watched, say there is an author here, and I've watched people walk by their booth, and the author behind them is like, hey, I wrote a book, do you want to buy it? And then that kind of sets off for everything else. So, like, I'm sure you've seen at certain shows where it's like, okay, not the sales tactic I would use, but still viable. You have grabbed attention, just if we could tweak it just a little bit. But it's hard because, you want to spend time in front of the paper, the computer. You want to, like, get those stories out. You want to get your book cover out and tell a story in that. Because for folks, like, with your book covers, you can't judge a book by its cover, but how many people really do. Yep. I have fallen prey to this has a nice book cover on it. Okay, it's a good thing on the back. Absolutely hated the book that I read. And it tore my soul, and I got 3 books in. I'm like, nope, I tried to give the author a good chance. This is just not the author for me. It is what it is. But when it comes to marketing, like, those people, yes, there are some expenses that come up with it. If you're going to get somebody to work digitally on your items, there is cost involved, typically, unless, as a small group, we band together and we come up with something, flyers, brochures. What I brought today was my car magnet. Like I was talking with AF Honest Home Services. Car magnets. Car magnets. One of your, your homework today while driving away from here, it doesn't even have to be a long assignment. When you're in traffic, look at some of the vehicles that have car magnets on it and think to yourself, I never would have known that company, thing, plan, person existed until I saw that car magnet. You have a
Just
question?
walk outside, you'll see ours on our car.
With a canine?
Canine.
Yep,
Critters
see,
on
and
it.
yes, perfect.
The big bone.
100%. And that's, you've got that recognizability. You can see, like, okay, maybe, like, I'm not in the market for it, but now I know that that company exists. And I know it's a small company, too, which you want to support that. And you've got some folks, like, Epic Electric is a good, they've wrapped their vans. And wrapping your vans costs thousands of dollars. Like, that's epic, one might say. But, like, for the folks that do things like that, I'm telling you, I am a thrifty individual. Car magnets all day.
Yeah.
This is not something, like, you can put such and such author, books online. You can put a QR code to your website, to your Amazon account, and anywhere you drive, you don't even have to talk to people. They can just look at the information and decide if they're interested. It's an amazing thing. As me, an introvert, I love having this on the car. If somebody wants to ask a question, then that means I've already grabbed their attention by this.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Then that means you're coming to me. I don't even need to, like, okay. And you'll see, like, with the company logo, I had the palettes there, I had paintbrushes, like bright colors, we're fun, we're different. It's not like a pinkies up sort of facility. If you ever got to go, it was quite an eclectic place. You can go on our website, there's a 3D scan model, you can go virtually if you would like. However, for brand recognizability and getting things out there, when making shirts, not everybody wants paint palettes and paint brushes and things like that. And so one of the things I found is just the MAD alone. People didn't even know we had an art facility, but they're like, you know what, I am mad. I am, in fact. That is fantastic. And so I would do it in color. I did a whole testing theory. So it's like, okay, maybe the red works out for some people. Maybe they like the V-neck sort of deal. Maybe for some of the guys' shirt, I had like MAD and just black lettering down here. And they had no idea what it was, but they loved the shirt. And I'm like, all right, I like that. Tote bags, I haven't had much success on. However, like, I mean, I paid for tote bags, but usually people just have the tote bags. So not something necessarily I would personally recommend, but to each their own. What works for you as an individual? Your brand recognizability. You having your books, your info out there. Some people like to market themselves, and they are the brand. And so you'll see certain individuals, when you see them at shows and stuff, they've got the full getup on, and they are, you know which ones I'm talking about, you've all seen them. They play the game, they market themselves, and that's completely their prerogative. Other folks that want to market their product, their ideas, their stories, their things like that, then you got to tweak things a little bit, because you're not necessarily like, it's not a makeup ad. You're not trying to sell shoes. You know, you've got to sell folks on sitting down in 2024 and taking time out of their very busy schedule with all of the bills and the kids and the family and the meals and the errands to sit down for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe just, and relax. And trust me when I say that is a very difficult thing to do. And I know things are moving digitally. I know folks are like, oh, printed books, and here to tell you, I recently went through all of our stock, and I'm going through all of the things that were at the facility, and I had 9 boxes of books. And I have gotten so much crap from so many people, like, why do you have all these books? Like, you don't understand. Okay, like, do you know the Spokane Authors and Self-Publishers? I have several books from that in that collection, but watching people's reaction now in 2020 where, everything's going to move digital, but it's not, though. And I have seen so much more success when people actually get to meet the authors, and the authors are having fun. They're actually smiling and enjoying themselves instead of like, it's hour 6. I'm going to have to pack the car. I've got to make sure the kids get home. Been there, seen it at shows. Like, after that fuel is gone and you're not like that bright, bushy-tailed person, you're like, I'm just ready to go. But that's what's fun about, again, card magnets. You don't have to talk to people. You don't have to have that face on. You don't have to engage. If you're having a bad day, and say you're at, like, I don't know, grocery outlet, and you got this card magnet on, somebody walks by and like, what is that thing you got there? I tell you what, if you go to that code, if you go to that website, if you look us up on Instagram, tell you everything you need to know. And not only are you going to get that little hit of dopamine of somebody just asked me about that card magnet that cost me $24. Because you can find them on Amazon, personalizable, like they, very good in a variety of different sizes depending on your vehicle. And yes, do like consider, yes?
I would just like to add that when you have a magnet on your car, don't cut people off.
No.
Don't have road rage.
That is a very good point. I like, for marketing, when folks say there is no bad publicity, there is.
There is.
There is very much so. And especially if you leave like your website on there and maybe you're having a bad day and oh crap, that magnet's on the car. Well,
but it can be removed.
yes, it can be removed. I don't know. And a magnet on your car, it's not going to affect your insurance like putting a decal on.
Right.
So that's another thing that like needing folks to know. Like that is a question I've gotten a lot. You're not advertising your business. You're advertising a product, your idea, your artwork. It's completely different. So what's fun about this is I've multiple vehicles. I've had friends that have driven Uber, and they've put my magnet on their car and just the roaming billboard, so that's been great. If you're looking for funding, you can also offer to have other people's magnets on your car if they want to pay like a little monthly fee, and maybe that'll pay for your magnet. But I'm very much an introvert. I can turn this on because I've done enough events, and then with the event center and things, like I can do it. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be drained by the end of it. And by the end of vending days, I'm sure like there's plenty of people who just, I'm ready for the hot bath, the hot beverage, maybe the cold beverage. All depends on your preferences. But for marketing, it's very difficult because if people don't know who you are, it's hard to get them engaged. And you'll see it all the time with all the different craft shows, just the folks walking by. And they won't even make eye contact with you if you're an author. Like,
I don't read.
yeah.
They actually say that.
It just completely dismissive. All right, well, what if there was a game at your table?
Yeah.
What if there was a giveaway? What if there was something to engage the kids?
Yeah.
Another thing, very simple, but like psychology tactics. Here's a plain table. But if there is a tablecloth on this table and something shiny on this table, it will grab folks' attention. It doesn't need to be something expensive. You can go to the dollar store and you can grab just some piddly little confetti sort of things, but something that attracts the human eye. Another psychology fact. Back in the day, the reason that humans are attracted to shiny objects is because in a distance, if somebody saw something shiny, that usually meant water and survival. So that's why our brains pick up on the glitter, the things, and it captures our attention. But just a little bit of table stuff, like, yes, here can be 14 books on the table, but you know what, maybe that's not going to be engaging to the 7-year-old walking by. But if you get that 7-year-old's attention, well, now the parents have to come over.
Oh, sorry, I have another one. Sorry.
Just go ahead.
Okay, I was just want to say real fast. I was a teacher, and I could get those kids to learn anything if I made a game. And I had a big ball, jar of dice, and when I started digging in there, they knew they were going to get to play games, and I'm like, okay, who wants to be the first to pick out their dice? And they just bought into playing whatever game I wanted them to play. And they were learning math facts and history and, all kinds of
Make it fun for
boring
sure.
stuff. And you get a game going, and they'll sign up for it.
Absolutely.
Also, if you have little prizes, that helps.
Candy works well.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We have a candy bowl.
I actually worked in a prison.
And we always tell the kids they have
And
to
I like the kids.
candy.
No, you gotta bring them over.
Yeah.
Carl?
I shared a table one time with a person who did crafts, cards, knickknacks, everything was made from paper. And she had literally everything on this table. I set up my little book display when I only had one book. And I sold more books off of her table than I ever did solo.
It's the best way I can, okay. So at the facility, we had phenomenal artists. Absolutely, like, detail-oriented. These folks, so methodical. They would study for years, and they made these immaculate paintings. Tom Quinn, Aaron Smith, Judy Harrell, Faust. Like, these folks were so intricate. Melissa Cole. But here's the thing. I would watch people just walk past their paintings. And then there would be an impressionistic painting. And it was interesting because it might not have a lot on that canvas, but what would happen is the folks they would stare at that and they would create the image in their own mind. So there's also a warning about giving people too much information, because even though these artists were phenomenally talented, and you could just see the amount of work, and they had hundreds of hours into their painting, the average everyday person walking past that isn't going to be able to relate to that. So they're going to want something that they can connect with, and not something that makes them feel intimidated. And with authors, and there's always that, there's folks, if they are into reading, writing, any of that, there's also an internal conflict, because at some point in their life, they've thought, God, I wish I could write a book. And so then when there's an author sitting in front of them, they're going to do one of two things. They're going to either ask you questions because they're intrigued, or they're going to retract because of internal guilt of not following through with that. So it's hard because you're dealing with the individual psychology of the folks walking by, of the folks at the booth next to you, of the kids who are involved in the process, of the event organizers, of who marketed that event in itself. So another thing with your events that you're participating in, please ask the individuals who are running these events for their flyers, for their posters. And if you have social media, if you have email, please, I am begging you, post it. I don't care if you post it every day. Because another thing on social media is people don't see your posts all the time. So if you have that internal conflict of like, oh my God, I posted this yesterday, but I don't really know. Trust me when I say not everybody has seen it. In 3 years that I ran my business, I can't tell you how many of my friends went, weren't you working at that art place? Yeah, that was my business. I tried to get you to come. Oh, I thought you just worked there. Like, not at all. That's why I was in the interviews. Oh, I didn't watch those. Thanks. That was really stressful for me. I'm glad to hear nobody saw it. But, like, those moments of like, oh, okay, I posted this, so it's stressful, and maybe I'm posting too much. Maybe I'm overshooting it, because then you'll see like some of your friends and family who don't post things of what they're doing, and maybe that causes some internal like, I don't know if I should be posting these. Post it. Post it, post it, post it. Do not, you are doing something with your life. You are celebrating your own struggles, challenges, triumphs that have brought you to this point. How many people do you know? Like, God, I wish I wrote a book. Here is an entire table, a room full of people who have written or wrote multiple books, are in the process, are taking the steps to learn from one another, to take time out of their Friday, to come down, to drive down, to spend a few hours with individuals of like mind. Do you know how many of the human population just go home and watch reality television? And they don't read? So, like, you guys are taking steps, and here to say, after running the facility for 3 years, there's not many that do this. All right, so I want you all to give yourselves a round of applause, because I'm here to tell you right now that having the gusto to put forward the effort to go to these shows and put yourself out there and pay the fee and put your stuff up for publishing and ask somebody to read and find beta readers and go through all this process, you guys put more effort into fulfilling your own dreams than I would say 95% of the population that go, God, one day I could.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You know what just came to mind when you were talking about that is, I know my friends are hesitant to post a lot on Facebook, but what if you turned it into tips for becoming a writer?
Yeah.
Or,
Absolutely.
and then put your book picture in there, but hey, I was inspired by this, or this is going on, or this is where you can learn more. I mean, just more of inspiring messages about you can do it.
Well,
And then that would be more interesting to me anyway, if I saw things like that.
yes, 100%. And another, so one of the things that we had at the facility, very, very cheap to do this, and you can do this at your trade events too, the inspiring messages thing. Mm-hmm. So what I did is I printed out a bunch of inspiring messages, and I cut them out, and I put them in Easter eggs around the facility. And this can go back to the game thing too, because you can have on there like, come to booth such and such for your prize. Come to such and such for this. And you can have folks engaged, because I tell you what, even adults, when they found some Easter egg, like, oh, what is this? And then they read like kind of like a fortune cookie sort of thing inside it, but with an inspirational message of like, you made somebody smile today and you didn't even know. Something like that like gives them that internal, oh, well, wait a second here. And what we would do is like, okay, so if you found the egg, what you need to do is you need to re-hide the egg. And so then they would hide it for somebody else, and then that would get them engaged. And so when somebody would see them running around with this egg, what are you doing with an egg? Well, I'm playing a game. If you find an egg, you have to re-hide the egg. Like, oh, God, where's another egg? It just becomes a whole thing. But yes, the inspirational messages, because life is tough enough. Like, that's something, and to be inspired by the folks around you, or even the folks on social media. And another really good tip is cross-promoting. So if you're doing a book with somebody, if you've got an artist working on something, if you've got somebody working on your website, right, they're like, oh my God, got this new website up, thank you so-and-so for the hard work, like, man, if anybody's got any questions or anything. So when you tag them on Facebook, that is shown on their profile as well. So say you have 76 friends on your Facebook, and they have 1,300. And then all of a sudden something pops up for all their followers that so-and-so was tagged in a post, and like, oh man, so-and-so works on so-and-so's website, or oh yeah, they're doing a book cover, oh, they're doing this, or, oh, they're doing a show. When you guys team up to do these vendor shows together, tag each other. Because that's just cross-promoting with friends, family, and fans.
Just to add on that, when we did a book show, we had a lot of books there because we are also in another book club. And when someone would come up, we'd say, what do you like to read? We'd start quizzing them, and then we'd find that book within our booth for them.
Right.
This is for you. And that's cross-promoting, absolutely.
So how do you tag? And if you tag, does it go to, let's say, if I tag Elena, then it goes to all her friends? Is that how that works?
If their profile is set up for that, yes. There are some folks who their profile is set to private. But when you type on Facebook, such and such, Elena, and her name, if she is a friend of yours on Facebook, should pop up.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, there comes this drop down of names that comes, and you click on that person's name, and then that name turns blue. And when that name turns blue, that's how you've tagged them. So, whether people who are reading their post or your post, they could see that, and they could click, I don't know this Elena individual, and they could click on that and go to the profile. If you say that they've got a book out, something along those lines, like something that will gather folks' attention, and don't be afraid to add a photo. It doesn't have to be a photo related to what's going on. You could be like, oh my God, this dandy piece of fruit I had, that was a wonderful orange. I'm prepping for this vendor show. Everybody get your vitamin C. But somebody's going to relate to, like, man, I did have a dandy nectarine the other day, and I don't know, where did you get yours from? Was it Trader Joe's? And it starts a conversation, and that conversation online, if you continue it, it gathers more attention. So the more comments and things that get made on that keeps the conversation going, more likely to tag other individuals, or if there's something interesting in that thread of information, then somebody will tag another individual that they know who could be interested in it, and then they're checking out who they may have never known SASP existed, or that this show was going on in Meade or in Liberty Lake, or it's so hard to try to get to all of the craft fairs or know where or when or schedule or calendar, because as we did vendor events for 4 years, and they pop up quick. If they're not the annual ones, you got people who are making events all over the city, all over the area, and then it's like, okay, then you don't know which craft fairs to go to, right? Because maybe their poster was really good, and then you show up and there's 10 vendors, and you're like, I don't know if I really need to spend $35, and it's a struggle. But another one, Washington vendors and events, and so different Facebook groups. Look for specific Facebook groups because it's been around longer than Instagram or all the others. And so you're more likely to have a varied range of individuals on there who know what's going on in the different demographics versus something like some of the newer, what once was Twitter, how they all keep recycling. But Facebook is a great tool to find folks in different demographics. And if you are ever interested in doing a Facebook promoted ad, so has anybody here done a Facebook promoted ad where they have paid money? Did you? How was your experience? Pros, cons?
It was huge.
And did you let the ad, how long did you let the ad go for?
Well, I was doing, they would go for a week at a time.
Week at a time. So did you specify a location?
Yes,
Okay,
and then I would rotate that location.
good deal. A tip, if you're ever going to do that again, do a national one,
Yeah, I did that too.
and wherever your cities are that have the most attention for your stuff, then do a focused ad there if you've got online sales.
Yeah, it was really shocking. Well, I'm Coeur d'Alene, and my biggest market was Boston.
Yeah.
Go figure. Sure, it's mysteries.
Oh, well. I mean,
So,
the amount of mystery.
It was.
You never know where exactly your stuff is going to hit, or depending on the book cover, depending on, for example, I've done ads for Bob. I haven't done them in a long time, but when you've got multiple books on your ad, so it's not just like the main focus is this one book that's coming out, or if you do have a book coming out and you know what that book cover is going to look like, do pre-orders. Get your marketing material. You can find a graphic designer who's really looking to get their name out there, really looking. I'm telling you, starving artists, graphic designers are also starving artists. You pay us like $20 to $50, and we're really excited. Carl can attest. I've worked for coffee. I don't care. I like having fun. It's a good time. But if you find somebody who's looking to get their name out there and they're willing to do a book cover for you because they've never done a book cover, that's how I started working with Bob. I'm like, that does sound like a good time. You can get that book cover out. You can get marketing materials made specifically for whatever social media or platform you're using, whether it be a website, whether it be you're going to do an email blast, or Facebook has specific dimensions for their graphics. So me, depending on the program that I'm working with, whether it be like a Pages sort of thing or a Canvas sort of thing, they already have the pre-made templates for the specific sizes. If I know that, like, oh, this customer wants a Facebook ad, or this item is going to go on Instagram and it needs to be in this dimension, they do it for you, which is great. But if you're trying to put one of your things on Facebook and it's not in the right size format, then they're seeing like a quarter of the picture and they don't even know. And it's just like off to the side here, and they're like, they don't even know. So
They do give you a preview.
if somebody clicks on it. If somebody is interested enough to go, what is that photo there? I don't know what they're trying to say. Because
No, I mean, before you post the ad, they will give you a preview of what your ad looks like.
oh yeah, definitely helpful.
Yeah.
I can't say everybody follows it. I've watched some stuff like,
Yeah, well, that's good.
People do what they want.
yeah, and humans will always be the random variable.
Yeah.
So don't, like, depending on what show you're at, the folks that you're interacting with online, always remember that humans are the random variable. So don't let their day affect your day as much. Okay? You don't know what they've gone through. They might be taking something out on you. They might have made some snotty comment because their grandfather told them, like, you'll never amount to anything in their background, so they're taken out. You don't know. So just let it roll off you. You get to choose how you want yourself presented. And what's fun about 2024 is you can do that now with social media and Amazon, and it's not as hard as back in the day when you had to find a publisher, and that publisher had to have like a marketing specialist, and that marketing specialist had to go to all the Barnes and Nobles, and they had to push your stuff with all the emails, and you had to send in full-on copies like this down to no. You, like now with the digital transfer, and like it is such a great time to be an author, an artist, but the marketing is what's getting people, and that comes whether it be the website design or the posters or brochures or flyers or anything that, or business cards. Business cards. Do I have? Maybe I got a business card today. I cannot read the text at all on this business card. The guy is nice. Great guy. Tow truck guy. I have no bad words to say other than, oh, I'm a graphic designer and I can't read the card. And we'll talk about it later. We'll have a conversation. But to see whether or not, like, and not to say that you shouldn't put your photos on your cards or anything, but definitely make sure the text is readable. If you're getting card magnets, definitely make sure the text is readable.
Yeah.
I have seen card magnets where they haven't put white around their lettering, and just that little bit of white, just that little bit of outline completely makes the difference. It doesn't matter what card, what color, what anything you put it on. There you go. It's die cut. It's to the card. I'm like, man, I know they spent money on that decal, but I can't freaking read it. And my prescription's at 0.75. I'm not even wearing my glasses. So, like, be mindful of your text. Be mindful of the color of your text, the size of your text, the thickness of your text. there are so many little nuances when it comes to the marketing materials that you may not even consider. Even the thickness of your paper makes a huge difference. If you've got 14 people down the line that got that nice thick card stock and their business card is like embellished and it's got like the font that pops out on you and maybe some metallic things, and then it's like, I printed it off my printer. It's cost effective. It is marketing material 100%. But if you're at a trade show and somebody is taking you seriously as an artist and they've got all of these other cards, and I'm not even saying like, oh, that makes things more professional, but if the card isn't going to survive being in my pocket, it's a very rare chance that it's going to hold up to whatever happens in point A to point B. Versus I've had folks with the thickness of their cards last years, and I find them in box, I'm like, I wonder what he's up to. Let's contact him real quick. Or Bob, I still have your pens. Your pens. I used one yesterday for the right place. I've got it. Like little things that you wouldn't even think about. I don't need any more pens. I still have a guy. But the point is, like, these are little things that, like, you remember, folks. You use the pens. If you get pens, don't buy cheap pens. Because if somebody is using your pen and they get very, very aggravated that your pen can't survive a singular sheet of stuff, like, then they're going to associate that negatively. So just be mindful. Pay a little extra for not the, like, meh. But, yeah. Bump up your stuff with the card stock. When it comes to marketing materials, having things ready, like prepare for your vendor shows. And I know it's hard because one might pop up all of a sudden and then you're like, oh crap, I don't have X amount of prints. I didn't get my bio printed out. If you've got a bio there, put it in a frame. Like just little tiny fixes. Dollar store. Go to dollar store. Get these little frames. It doesn't matter if they don't survive. And I tell you what, I have seen so many artists at vendor shows, they pay so much money for the super spiffy tent, and don't skimp on tents because the proper windstorm and not a lot of weights. Like, that'll cost you money. Heaven forbid you're next to a ceramic artist. And yeah, see the O's? You've seen it. But if you've got dollar store frames, you're not going to be sad when they break. If you're using your grandmother's ancient such and such because it was a family heirloom and it means a lot to you, do not bring that to vendor shows. If you've got something that you really any heirlooms that, unless it pertains to you, do not bring it to vendor shows. You don't know what's going to happen. I have seen areas where tents have gone to the power lines. In Coeur d'Alene, it took out the majority of tents. It was so devastating, like tens of thousands in damages for artists. And granted, like with books, it's not necessarily like, a whole jewelry table or anything like that. But if you are getting decorative things, go thrifting. Okay, don't go online and get a whole bunch of stuff and spend a whole ton of money on something that, like, the amount of stress that vendor shows put on an individual and what you need to carry, be mindful of weight. You can make things look professional for very, very cheap. It's just that little extra push that sets you apart from the other artists. If you've got, say, at your vendor show, the sun is a huge one. I have seen people put curtains with 550 cord, run it from one end to the other, put a bath curtain on it, and that will attract people. You can go, yep.
We write children's books. What attracts people to our booth is we have the actual stuffed giant rabbits that the books are about, and stickers that we made, and coloring sheets.
Fantastic. Yes. See, and it's interactive, it relates to the story, and it gives folks something to remember, and a textile element if you've got the rabbits, the stuffed rabbits. Yep. Mm-hmm. So you've got something, you're appealing to multiple senses instead of just, maybe you're going to sit down and read.
Right.
So like with kids, it's great because they're interested, they want to be a part of it, they want that engaging stuff, and adults lose that. we've got responsibilities, and we can't focus on cartoons or the imaginary friends, and it's really hard.
We've
And now
actually had a lot of adults who love the bunnies, sometimes more than the kids.
Now, have you ever brought a live bunny for them to pet?
No, we don't have one.
You got plenty around your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Plenty.
Well, for that, like,
Borrow
if
one
you
from me.
found maybe a nonprofit group, maybe Scratch, something along those lines, and see if you guys could work together in something like that, where like, hey, you're trying to get these rabbits adopted, or hey, you're trying to do such and such, would you mind like bringing this out? Or I've got kids that are coming to the booth and they would absolutely love, so
Awesome.
you're cross promoting,
Yes.
but also making that difference. And maybe everybody loves pet animals, right? Unless you're allergic. So it's a great way. So what are some other ways that folks have, that when you're at trade shows, how do you get people to your booth? What are some secrets that you found?
Larry's really good at it.
He's got the yellow lanyard and everything.
There's a couple going by, I'll holler at the gal, I said, can he read? Come on, we're gonna buy him a book and prove it,
See, now that's good, because you're challenging.
Yeah.
You are challenging, and it engages that competitiveness. Absolutely, like that is a good tactic.
We had drawing for books.
Good
Put your
deal.
name in a bowl and
Oh yeah,
tell them what time we're drawing, and we'll call you.
absolutely.
Come pick out a book.
Yeah, 100%. That is a really good way to keep folks engaged.
Oh yeah.
If you had the time, or if you had somebody who was kind of crafty, if you had anybody who could make like a tic-tac-toe board
Oh sure.
that could be hung up, or and have folks play that way, or something to get multiple people playing
Just
together.
buy candy for price.
Yeah.
Plain candy.
Oh, yeah.
I painted rocks with free downloads and hid them in the venue and told people to come find me.
That is fantastic. There's another artist.
We couldn't hear her.
Oh.
Would you repeat what she said?
I painted rocks with free download codes. Says, come to my table and you'll get a free download of my book if you bring this rock back.
And that way you don't have to paint them next time. That's a
See?
good idea.
Perfect for retrieval.
Yeah.
Well, it was about 50 years ago, so I can't remember it real well. But I had clay sculptures, scale models, like 200, 250 of them that I took, shows locally. And the one, all those mostly catered to kids, I guess. And this one boy that came along that was really enthused about it. But he had this big question. He was wondering why Tyrannosaurus wasn't bigger than all the others. And I had to burst his bubble. I said, because it was he. He wasn't the biggest. And he just, but I'm sure he remembered that.
Right. You created a memory right then and there of him getting to talk to somebody, and then also the shared interest. Like, that's a perfect way to go. And clay, for folks who don't know, if you are looking for a 3D element, whether it be decorative or something for a drawing, or even some of your figures or characters in the book, whether it be like little bunnies that you could give away, clay bunnies. Clay is remarkably inexpensive. Remarkably.
Yes.
Cents. It's cents. Cents. So once you do that, and is it like you can buy the clay at Clay Connection, very easy, very simple. They will give you all the things. You can just do hand building to make say a rabbit. Say something that you can give out with your thing, like every book purchase, you also get this little rabbit, and you can. It gives you something to do. It gives the kids something to do. And here to tell you, it's so inexpensive. It's not too sad when the things break because it's like right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Clay Connection, cents on the dollar. You get the clay, you do the bisque fire, you come in, you glaze it. It doesn't even have to be extravagantly glazed, or you can wait for one of their raku fires, and you can have your items done there, and it's super inexpensive. These are really like, I am a thrifter. I am here to tell you, I save money.
Yes, we love that.
So like these little tiny things that can be done that can help get your name out there or help your image, your brand, your product, your thing stick in the person's mind is going to be monumentally better than that Joe Blow who's just going by that here's another book on the shelf. So, yep.
I write, one of my series is about a German Shepherd, and I have a picture of my German Shepherd on the table. And people will walk by the books and stop at the picture. Oh, you have a German Shepherd, and that starts a whole conversation.
Absolutely. I am a German Shepherd fan. Every time I say, oh, you're a German Shepherd. That's my baby. Those and Malinois.
Oh, Malinois.
The alligators. But yeah, it really helps bring things together. And I don't know if your Pupperdoodle like shows or would be willing to be at a show or that feels well with people, but also another element depending on, you know, the comfortable temperature and safety issues and water availability, bathroom breaks. But the biggest thing that I've found throughout all of marketing is keeping folks engaged. And whether that be an online conversation or a personal memory made when you've got them at your table, something where you guys are creating that tether, so to speak, where they're like, oh my God, I gotta read that book. I have bought friends' books simply because they were my friend and they wrote that book. And so when you've got your friends, family, and fans, please post. If you have some marketing material that was made, please post it. Please give it out. Please don't be afraid to do that, because as a graphic designer, when I see my ads sitting in a just like file cabinet over on the side, and I've got somebody like, God, I really just don't know what I'm to do with my business. I'm like, how about put out those ads I made?
Yeah.
We can do that. We could, make the magnets that I designed. That's a weird concept. How about those stickers? But with the inaction of others, it makes things very difficult. And thankfully, you as authors and artists have the ability to hold your destiny in your hands. So don't be afraid to post these things or send out the stuff. Or if you see a community board that you could post something on, don't be afraid to put a business card there.
You remember what you told me about the stickers?
Which part?
If you have a QR code,
Oh, yes.
make a sticker out of it and hand those out.
Uh-huh.
People put them everywhere.
Yeah. You can put them everywhere. If you're walking around, look, take that look at a post and see how many people are just like, here's a sticker. And if it's a QR code, people who are standing at that corner, wonder what that QR code's for. And they might scan it, and they might not be into books. Maybe they didn't see anything. Maybe if you put a logo on there, they have no idea what that logo is, but here's this random QR code. What does it lead to? I don't
There's
know.
a question.
Yeah. It's a mystery. Put a huge question mark. You put your QR code as the bottom of that question mark, and let folks just downtown have a heyday. Plenty of people do it. People are doing it in drive-thrus now. I don't recommend it. It's vandalism. I'm not recommending vandalism. Or littering. I'm just saying, marketing is a tool. So there's plenty of inexpensive things. Staples is a great tool if you have the right file size. Another really good website if you're looking for small prints or postcards or anything like that, posterninja.com. Posterninja.com. I've used them numerous times, money-saving capabilities. They do have very nice card stock. And they've got a variety of other materials as well. You just have to go through and see what actually works for you and your marketing plans and things like that. But if you're looking for brochures to be done. I will say that Poster Ninja, if you've got the stuff and it's already uploaded, and they save your files for you. Okay? Yeah. I'm here to tell you, I lost so much artwork, and I went on Poster Ninja, and it was such a relief to see all of my files still there. So, Poster Ninja, and they have a 3-day turnaround time, and it's a company based out of Florida. So, if you're getting ready for shows, and you need at least 3 days for them, but here to tell you, I have spent less than $24, and I have made over $400 at a show. So, depending on your prints, depending on the materials needed, business cards involved, brochures, if you're trying to get your information out there, if you're looking to create QR codes, there is an app on, and you can search for an app on your phone, free QR code creator. And all that will ask you to do is input what information you want included on that QR code. So whether it be a website.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. Does anybody here have a link tree?
I'm in the process of,
Linktree?
yeah, I'm in the process of starting that on Instagram.
Linktree, if you notice on some of the social media sites, like you can only enter X amount of text. But if you have a Linktree, think of it like a landing page. If you don't have a website and you have a bunch of different things that you want, say you wanted your Amazon store there, say you wanted your website, maybe here's some recent reviews of your book over on a different website, all of these things, and you don't want a website or you don't have a website or something, a link tree is a singular link that will bring them to a landing page that has all of this information on there. So instead of having to design an entire website, you can have a link tree that can link to all of your different books, sales options, bio information, events that you're going to, anything like that. And it's a free service. You can upgrade, but again, I'm thrifty.
Is this an app?
Linktree is a website that provides a link to provide all of your links.
So it's different from LinkedIn?
It's different from LinkedIn.
Okay.
LinkedIn is more so for business networking.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes. Linktree is more for providing information about your business or personal endeavors all in one. So you'll see on Instagram, for example, you have very limited character count when putting in your bio. So instead you have the link tree, and so for mine I've got to schedule an appointment, my website, my contact information, so folks can call right from that button. So it condenses all of the information for you. You can have a QR code that is linked to your link tree. So just depends on what information you have available.
Okay. When you were talking about, I forgot what you were talking about, but you were talking about
Cross promotion?
yeah, and I have on my website, they can click on and go to my Facebook page, my Facebook page, or to Amazon, or to Twitter, X, I have those links on there, and so they all interconnect. And if I post a blog, I can post it on my website, and then it automatically goes to Facebook and to Amazon. And it does help.
Yeah, streamlining the process, and that was also a frustration I saw. Folks who had to post on all of these different sites, and then they had to, go on this site and do this update and put out this newsletter. And now, thankfully, with the technology involved, you can link all of them so it all will post at the same time.
Yeah.
And what a glorious time to be alive in 2024. Does anybody have any more questions, comments, concerns?
Do you have a card?
I have a link tree.
I was just gonna say, you're great. Thank you so much. You had a lot of really good information.
Truth be told, in parallel to that, I do not get outlets. And, so I'm doing tile and flooring and sheetrock, and tile doesn't complain or have existential crisis. I just put it on the
Do you
wall.
decorate it for them as you go, just for your own personal love of it?
Oh, I have fun with the homeowners, and like we go over different design ideas.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
So you get it that way.
I do have a lot of fun with things, and it's great because like it's really hard with home renovations to be able to trust folks that come in, and thankfully because of the business, I'm like, hi, I'm Googleable. You can Google me
Yeah.
and verify my identity. It's great.
Now, just, she asked me how much, or I asked her how much time she was gonna need today, and she says, 10, 15 minutes. The answer